In the fictional world of Dexter, a Miami police forensic analyst uses his forensic expertise to hunt criminals under the cover of night. His calculated kills are guided by a personal code that targets only the guilty. His story, a dark fantasy of justice, has captivated audiences since the very first time he appeared on television. But what you probably don't know is that decades before Dexter Morgan graced our television screens in 2006, a real man in Brazil walked a chillingly similar path. Florisvaldo de Oliveira, a military police soldier in Sao Paulo, turned his badge into a weapon, targeting those he deemed unworthy of life. But unlike Dexter's scripted crusade that happened in a fictional world, Florisvaldo's actions left real blood on the streets, a legacy that haunts Brazil to this day. Born on November 18, 1958 in Ucoa, a quiet town in Sao Paulo state, Florisvaldo grew up in a world far removed from the chaos of the city. His family moved to Catanduva when he was 3, where childhood friends gave him the nickname Cabo Bruno, likening his serious demeanor to a local drunk named Bruno. The name stuck, a playful moniker that would later carry a darker weight. In 1978, at 20, he joined the military police, drawn to the structure and authority of the force. Sao Paulo, with its sprawling slums and rampant crime, was a stark contrast to his rural roots. The city tested him, and in its shadows, he began to forge his sense of justice. By 1982, Sao Paulo's periphery was a war zone. Neighborhoods like Jardim Selma and Pedreira were gripped by fear, with robberies and murders a daily reality. Criminals operated boldly, exploiting a justice system that seemed powerless to stop them. Florisvaldo, who was 24 at the time, was a constant presence in these neighborhoods. He drove unassuming cars, a Chevrolet Chevette and a Ford Maverick, often repainted to blend into the night. His colleagues saw him as reliable but solitary, a man with a sharp edge in his gaze. But seeing all those crimes finally snapped him, and one day he decided to use his position of power and his understanding of the city to become a killer himself. A so-called vigilante who systematically murders those he believes are criminals. And a few days later, a chilling pattern emerged in the city. Bodies began to appear, slumped in alleys or sprawled in vacant lots, each marked by a single, precise gunshot. The victims were petty thieves, drug dealers, men who thrived in the city's underbelly. Like Dexter, who stalked his prey with surgical precision, Florisvaldo struck swiftly, leaving no trace behind him. Residents whispered of a phantom, someone cleaning the streets with ruthless efficiency. And that was just the start. As the killings multiplied, a dealer was shot in Vila Galvio. A thief was gunned down in Campo Limpo. In Jardim Selma, a 16-year-old named Claudio Pasternak Batista was killed while walking with a friend. Another man named Jose Aparecido Benedito survived a hail of bullets by playing dead, a rare escape from the killer's aim. While Dexter's kills were a scripted dance of justice, Florisvaldo's were real. Each body a stark reminder of a man taking the law into his own hands. In 1983, the Sao Paulo military police began to notice the pattern. Detectives pieced together evidence, bullet casings, witness accounts, and the methodical nature of the kills. The victims were all linked to crime, and the executions suggested someone with police training. Suspicion turned to their own ranks. Florisvaldo's patrols aligned too closely with the crime scenes, his routes through Pedreira and Jabaquara raising red flags. Investigators shadowed him, digging into his habits. They found that he was disciplined but guarded, a loner who kept his motives hidden. The killing kept on going until September 22, 1983, when they arrested him, accusing him of over 20 murders. The city reeled as the man they called Cabo Bruno, once a protector, faced charges as a killer. In the interrogation room, Florisvaldo sat calmly. His composure was unnerving as he admitted to one killing, the Jardim Selma murder. He then spoke of a city overrun by criminals, of a system that let them walk free. Like Dexter, who followed a code to target the guilty, Florisvaldo saw his victims as threats, men who deserved death. And just like Dexter, Florisvaldo had a personal code. a code rooted in a belief that he was doing what the law could not. His words carried a chilling certainty, unsettling his interrogators. He wasn't just a cop. He was a judge, jury, and executioner, driven by a vision only he understood. He targeted those he deemed criminals. But there was a big difference between him and Dexter. While Dexter would always make sure to only target criminals based on solid evidence, Florisvaldo didn't really care about being sure and sometimes would kill based on flimsy evidence like a tattoo or a glance. And while Dexter's actions didn't have consequences since it was in a fictional world, Florisvaldo's faced real stakes. Over 50 murders were attributed to him, though he claimed only 20, insisting others were copycat killings pinned on his name. The courtroom was tense, packed with reporters and onlookers. Prosecutors presented damning evidence. Crime scene photos, forensic reports, and survivor testimonies. The defense argued he was a product of São Paulo's chaos, a man pushed to act where the system failed. But the evidence was overwhelming. In 1985, Florisvaldo was convicted and sentenced to 113 years in prison, a verdict that seemed to bury him. While Dexter's story thrived on television, Florisvaldo's left real families grieving, their pain a stark contrast to the fictional allure of a vigilante hero. Florisvaldo began doing his time, but it seemed like he didn't want to have a normal prison time either, as he escaped the prison 3 times. Each attempt was bold but fleeting, with his final escape in 1991 ending in recapture. It makes you wonder if there was another fictional character like that. Florisvaldo transferred to Tremembé Maximum Security Penitentiary, and this time, prison reshaped him as he decided to do things differently, just not for the better. He turned to evangelical Christianity in 1991 and built chapels, served as a pastor, and spoke of redemption. Everything was good until he started to frame his killings as a divine mission to purge evil. Like Dexter, who grappled with his dark passenger, Florisvaldo used faith to justify his past, seeking forgiveness while clinging to his sense of purpose. And it worked since in 1998, his artwork was exhibited in São Paulo, and in 2008, he married a prison volunteer. Florisvaldo's story echoed beyond the prison walls. In São Paulo slums, his name carried a complex weight. Some shopkeepers recalled safer streets when he patrolled, a grim parallel to Dexter's fictional appeal as a protector. Others saw him as a warning of what happens when justice turns personal. His actions fueled debates about vigilantism in a city scarred by police corruption and a fading military dictatorship. The 1980s had bred a culture of force, and Florisvaldo embodied its extremes. But his story, unlike Dexter's, wasn't entertainment. It was a mirror to Brazil's struggles with crime and morality. In 2009, after serving a sixth of his sentence, Florisvaldo sought a semi-open regime. A 2009 psychological evaluation deemed him stable. His good behavior, despite escapes, earned leniency. On August 23, 2012, a presidential decree granted him freedom after 27 years. At 53, he emerged graying but resolute, settling in Pindamonhangaba, far from São Paulo's chaos. He was ordained a pastor, speaking of peace and a new life. But the shadow of Cabo Bruno lingered, his past a weight he could not outrun. On September 26, 2012, just 34 days after his release, Florisvaldo's story ended in violence. Returning from a religious service in Aparecida, he pulled into his driveway in Pindamonhangaba. 2 men approached, firing 18 to 20 shots at him. The bullets struck his head and chest, killing him instantly. It was clearly an execution. The killers vanished, leaving theories of revenge or a warning. Unlike Dexter, whose story ended on a writer's whim, Florisvaldo's death was a brutal reminder of the real cost of his actions. Florisvaldo de Oliveira, or Cabo Bruno, left a fractured legacy. His family auctioned his paintings to move on, their lives shrouded in anonymity. In São Paulo, his name remains a symbol of a city at war with itself, a man who saw himself as a deliverer of justice but left a trail of blood. While Dexter's vigilantism captivates as fiction, Florisvaldo's story forces a reckoning with the human cost of taking the law into one's own hands. a haunting reflection of a man and a city caught in the grip of their own contradictions.